Hey folks, Sean from the Marketing Gateway here. I'm traveling this weekend, so I thought I'd try something a little bit different. So if you're watching on YouTube, enjoy.
Like a lot of Americans, I'm a commuter, and the trip between my home and my office is about 40 minutes in normal traffic. And on my way to work, I passed a lot of billboards. The last time I counted, I believe it was well over 50, not including the bonus billboards that show up on digital displays. Now, this might seem crazy for me to say as someone who's interested in marketing, but I don't actually see a lot of advertising. I use ad blockers on my web browsers. I don't watch broadcast or cable TV, and I pay for the ad-free versions of YouTube and streaming video services. It's not that I hate ads, it's just that they're obnoxious and intrusive and generally not targeted to my interests, so I don't want to waste my time or advertisers' dollars with them. If you want to reach me, outdoor advertising is still a pretty reliable way to get my attention. But here in St. Louis, advertisers have never really taken outdoor ads that seriously. When I go to bigger cities like Chicago, New York, or Los Angeles, I'll see outdoor ads all over the place for just about everything. But here in St. Louis, it feels like half the outdoor ads are for lawyers, and most of the rest are usually for a handful of categories like car dealerships, colleges, restaurants, healthcare, financial services, insurance, events, attractions, and luxury products or services. And we've had some weird ones too. Once there was a billboard for an anti-circumcision movement in a prime location on one of our major highways. Another time, a local Vietnamese businessman put up a greeting to the Vietnamese community with his contact information right above the Poplar Street Bridge, all in Vietnamese. There have also been some rather provocative ones from special interest groups trying to get people's attention, and some religious ones too. And then there was this memorable one for the Rolling Rock beer brand many years ago where they claimed they were going to use lasers to display the logo of the brand on the moon on March 21st, 2008. It was a hoax, of course, but really memorable. But what I've never been able to understand is why outdoor advertising isn't taken more seriously in St. Louis, or, for that matter, in many other markets. And so I thought we'd dive into that topic today. I'm Sean in St. Louis, and this is the Marketing Gateway. So let's begin with a definition of what outdoor advertising is, because a lot of times when we hear that term in marketing, we think billboards. And billboards are certainly a big part of the medium, quite literally. They offer a larger-than-life canvas on which you can do a lot of interesting things. But outdoor advertising also encompasses all sorts of things that are at eye level, like mass transit or posters in windows or in storefronts. It can even include large shopping center signs or marquees, putting your logo on signs advertising what businesses are available on an interstate exit, or putting your brand or logo on the building your office is housed in. Basically, it's a medium designed for taking advantage of public places where there is traffic. And there are two key aspects of this medium. One is that it's purely visual. People pass by these ads as they're walking or driving or riding by on a train or a bus, and unless they actually focus on them, they probably won't even notice them. The other is that they're usually very short in exposure. The viewer may only have mere seconds to see them. Both of these characteristics mean that outdoor ads have to work hard to get people's attention with short, meaningful messages. The upshot, though, is that the audience is somewhat captive, and they're bound to at least see your message as it's coming up along the road or placed on a sign in a place where they'll be walking. But then there's another issue, and that's context. Pedestrians, passengers, and drivers are not in a position to be persuaded when they're passing by outdoor advertising, and so the messages for outdoor advertising are generally about building brand awareness. Some may also feature a light call to action, like calling a phone number or visiting a website, but because this information has to be remembered, it's not very effective unless it's easy to recall later on when the viewer is less busy. And it also creates a big challenge for most advertisers who have a more complex message to share. Good outdoor advertising, especially billboards, is most effective when there are three elements: a brand, a powerful image, and a few words. And, generally speaking, the more words on the outdoor ad, the less impact it will have. So, the common practice is for outdoor advertising to be built around one of three strategies. One is adding support for a broader campaign that's also running in print, digital, or broadcast. Another is initiating a direct call to action for more information. And then there's just building basic awareness. Now, that first strategy you don't see as often as you used to, and what you tend to see instead is advertisers trying to take a print or digital ad they've already created and just slap it up on a billboard. That might save them some money, but it's also not a very effective way to use the outdoor medium. The best way to build on a broader campaign is to repeat a recognizable slogan or show an image that evokes that other messaging. The second strategy only works if that call to action is simple. The website or phone number needs to be something people can pick up with a quick glance and then remember when they need the information later. This is why law offices will often use very easy to remember numbers or slogan style websites. They want people who are interested in their services to be able to remember how to reach them. But if you put a complicated website or a phone number that isn't memorable, good luck. You're not making things easy, and so you shouldn't expect much response. The third strategy is actually quite effective for outdoor advertising. If you have something you want people to be more aware of, a brand name, a new product, an upcoming event, an entertainment opportunity, or even a cause that you want them to support, outdoor advertising has a very broad reach. This is also why billboards tend to be for things like hospitals, restaurants, or attractions. They're potential destinations for motorists driving along that route. Making them aware puts those options into their consideration set when they need to seek that kind of service. But good design is key, and the framework many marketers use for outdoor advertising design is a hierarchy of effects model, which will include three basic phases: cognition, affect or likability, and behavior. And there are many different frameworks that utilize this model, from ADA to Dagmar to A's to Love, that purchase funnel, or other things like that, but they all basically follow the same progression. First, you have to get people's attention through some combination of visuals and words. This often means pairing an attractive or striking image with a message that is easily understood and connects both elements to your product or brand. Next, you have to convince people that this is something they actually have a positive feeling about. And this is harder than it sounds because advertising audiences are naturally averse to ads and generally skeptical of messages that don't immediately fit their preconceptions. So let's look at an example. McDonald's is a big billboard advertiser in St. Louis, and they do some of the best billboards that I've seen. They're attractive, they take advantage of the larger-than-life format, they're easy to understand, and best of all, they fit the brand perfectly. McDonald's billboards generally show a gigantic image of one of their sandwiches along with a simple headline and their logo. Sometimes they do really creative things like adding seagulls to the billboard that are attacking the giant fillet of fish, or maybe they'll make the bun extend beyond the boundaries of the sign. McDonald's billboards might also play up the promotional or seasonal item like cold beverages in the summer or shamrock shakes in the spring. Or they might try to communicate value by showcasing promotional pricing. Their billboards aren't always fun, but they are unpretentious. They make you feel like the brand is welcoming and available. Of course they do, though. It's McDonald's. But what McDonald's billboards don't do is try to persuade you that their brand is about anything more than the immediacy of fast food. They don't make promises about speedy service or smiling staff or quality ingredients. Those things might matter at the actual restaurant, but they don't in this particular moment. All that matters is that the billboard gets past that likability barrier to potentially get some of the people seeing it to consider McDonald's next time they want a food item or beverage that it has to offer. Now let's turn to a more complex example, the St. Louis Zoo, which we've talked about many times here on the Marketing Gateway. It's one of the best zoos in the country, and it's widely considered to be the best free zoo. It's a major attraction that people in the area really love. So when the St. Louis Zoo puts up a billboard, it might be to remind people that it's an option when they're seeking an attraction, or it might be to let them know about an event that's coming up, like their Boo at the Zoo October events or their Wild Lights shows during the holiday season. There's a lot that the St. Louis Zoo could communicate in these billboards to win people over. They could talk about the number of animals they have available, or their conservation efforts, or the value of a membership, or their hours, or so many other things. But what they often do instead is show an attractive picture of an animal, give the image a great headline, and then put their logo somewhere at their tagline, "Animals Always." Why? Well, because their goal is not to inform the public of all the information you can find on their website. It's just to remind them that their zoo is an option. And by keeping the focus on a specific animal and using the headline to evoke a sense of fun, they can build both awareness and build enough affect to perhaps influence behavior. Let's contrast that with a billboard I saw the other day for a car dealership that wanted people to know it won an award for the umpteenth time in a row. I won't name the dealership, of course, but I will say The billboard was a confusing mess showing a bunch of trophies, a giant truck, the dealer's brand name, the truck's brand name, two different headlines, and of course, a picture of the dealer himself. The only reason I had time to take any of it in was because I was stopped at a red light. It failed all 3 steps. I couldn't read it quickly enough to understand what it was about, so it couldn't penetrate my cognitive barrier unless I really studied it. Even when I did have time to read it, I couldn't figure out what any of it meant or why I should care, which meant it didn't have any impact on my affect towards the brand. And because it didn't tell me where the dealership was, it certainly had no impact on my behavior. As a vanity billboard, I guess it got the point across for the advertiser, but as a piece of outdoor advertising, way too much going on to be effective. And that's the key with outdoor advertising, to keep things simple. Remember that you cannot easily persuade someone with an outdoor message due to the context, but you can introduce an idea to the viewer or entice them to want to know more. And when you take the time to do this properly, the benefits are huge. A 2019 Nielsen report found that 70% of people said they can recall outdoor ads, and 46% reported taking action because of them. That's better than any other mode or medium of advertising, and it's a great reason to consider outdoor advertising as part of your branding strategy. I'm Sean in St. Louis, and this has been the Marketing Gateway. See you next time. Today's plug is for curiosity. And if you're watching the YouTube version of this podcast and seeing the videos I shot on my weekend road trip, you might notice that as I was driving, some of the signs along the way encouraged people to tune in to an AM radio station for tourist info. Now, the highways I was on, I've been on many times before, but as I was passing the exit for Arcola, Illinois this time around, I got curious about what they might want me to know about their opportunities for tourism, and so I tuned in to that AM radio station. I was greeted by a 4-minute broadcast playing on a loop telling me about the village's Raggedy Ann Museum, celebrating the creation of the popular doll there, or the annual Broomcorn Festival, or the 17 murals the village has for people to browse downtown. And sure, I could have gone on Arcola's website to learn more about all of this, and I actually did when I got home. But it was because I was curious enough to take a few minutes to hear about the community in the first place that I took the time to learn about them instead of simply driving by. I can guarantee the next time that I'm in that area, I'll remember what I learned on that AM station, and maybe I'll even drive through there sometime. That's what curiosity can do for you. It opens up new worlds of possibilities and makes those very familiar pathways feel fresh with deviations once again. So, dare to be curious. You'll be glad you did.